it's educating yourself on different industries outside of yours and how you could take those concepts and those ideas and apply them to your business.
Coffee's for closers only.
So we've established my proposal is sound in principle. Now we're just haggling over price.
Let's see how much we're going for on eBay.
I mean, it's the same as Dunkin' Donuts. Costs 15 times the price.
Welcome to Impact Pricing, the podcast where we discuss pricing, value, and the perishable relationship between them. I'm Mark Stiving, and our guest today is Dominick Latorre, and here are 3 things you want to know about Dominick before we start. He is the Senior Director of Yield and Inventory Management at Sinclair Broadcast Group. He used to be the Manager of Pricing and Planning at Spectrum, and he's the Assistant General Manager of the men's national team in USA ball hockey. Now, Dominick, I got to say, that sounds impressive. Is it?
Not so much. I'm more of a gopher for the actual GM. But we have a pretty big tournament coming up in Czechoslovakia in September, which we just had a few camps on it. We just had a tournament up in Boston, so everybody's really excited to get rolling with it. But no, I'm a glorified gopher, so don't be too impressed with the assistant GM title.
That's okay. What was funny was when I read that, I didn't even know what USA ball hockey is. I could guess. It's kind of like street hockey.
It's street hockey, basically street hockey for older guys who can't skate anymore and still have the competitive urge to play. With that, yeah, but it's there's some guys with some real skill. I used to play in a league in California, and there was former NHL players, minor league players played in it, and it got serious around playoff time. With guys playing. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, let's jump into today's topic and start with, how did you get into pricing?
Mark, I actually fell into pricing. I actually moved out to California for the job with Time Warner to actually manage their credit and collections division. And in the midst of that, in the midst of meeting with the senior vice president of finance and director of FP&A, we would get together every week, and we would be looking at our numbers, and we're writing off like $1 million, around $1 million a month, and we couldn't figure out where that was coming from. Needless to say, I was the one who kind of found the discrepancy, and it was because we were undervaluing our inventory, our commercial ad inventory. Where basically we were just, I don't want to say we were giving it away, but we were almost giving it away, undervaluing it, and we were writing off, like I said, almost $1 million a month. And they were like, "Well, we need to address this in some way." So I kind of got dumped into pricing and inventory management, and been there ever since, and just enjoy thoroughly what we do. So that's kind of how I got into it.
I have to say, I think the vast majority of people in pricing somehow fell into it.
Yeah.
Very few people plan on going into pricing.
Yeah.
So,
but it's the best. I got to tell you, honestly, pricing is a little, in media, it's a little still very much gut intuition, and we're slowly but surely transitioning to the software solutions and data and AI, but we still have a long way to go. But I'm very happy with the choice I made back in 2007-ish to get into pricing, because as obviously as you know, it's the biggest driver of profit if you're priced correctly. So much more than sales volume or anything else. So
it's incredibly powerful. Now, you are probably the first guest I've had on that focuses on perishable products, perishable inventory. Now, we often think about, when I think of perishable inventory, I probably think of airplanes and hotel rooms, because I use airplanes and hotel rooms a lot. So I think about how they price. You're selling advertising, and of course, once the day goes by or the advertising spot goes by, it's gone, right? You can't get
It's
revenue
gone,
for it.
correct.
So it's going to be hard. If you've been in the perishable business forever, it's hard for you to say, because I really want to ask the question, how is perishable different than pricing bubblegum or pricing computers or pricing software?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is what I've always been into is the perishable inventory environment. But for me, it's my goal, or the gold standard that I want to attain in media is the airlines and hospitality. Basically, what you said, and be as dynamic in our pricing as those guys are in their industry. Like I said, it's been it's basically turning a steamship in media to do that. But I think what we've done over the past 4 years of my time at Sinclair is basically showing the sales leadership and the account executives and the entire sales organization that we can be priced effectively with a customer's willingness to pay, and using our data to drive that decision making, and not use what you've always done. There's a better way to do it. When we get into kind of what we call next gen TV, which is more around where it's targeted advertising, you can't manage that in an Excel spreadsheet anymore. It becomes way too difficult, becomes much more time consuming. So for us, our goal is not just to improve revenue with pricing, but also improve efficiencies with the local pricing experts, so they're not sitting behind their desk creating rate cards where it takes them hours at a time. We have the data, we have the forecast data. Let's utilize it and give them time back to do what they were hired to do, and that's sell advertising inventory.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's take a step back for a second. You had mentioned that the way we've always done it doesn't make a lot of sense. So can you describe how we've always done it?
Well, yeah. So think of it like this. We've always allowed, we have what we call, it's a dirty word in our business, it's called preemptions, where we will basically, if we have 10 spots to sell, we will sell 10, we will sell 12, we will sell 15, we will sell 20. We will just completely oversell the commercial program. Let's say it's Wheel of Fortune, there's 10 spots to sell on Monday. We'll sell it, if it's hot, we'll sell it 10, 15, 200% over, and then we'll figure out where the bodies are buried, and give that advertiser, a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 deal to go somewhere else, when that really only upsets clients. And with the various choices for marketing dollars these days, like, you can't be upsetting clients and then pulling multi-million-dollar deals because we weren't priced effectively and given them a rate that from day one it should have been. It's a premium program. Obviously, the demand is there. We should be charging it based upon that. So we've always had this preemption, and it's just not where I'm at today. It's always been an issue in media, and it's something that we're trying to move away from at Sinclair by literally, with our pricing and utilizing our software, to literally continue to drive the rate up to where it almost to the point where it shuts off demand because it's become so high. And preemptions, by doing it that way with our software solutions, we'll be able to do that and kind of limit the amount of preemptions that we have. I tell people all the time, with a preemption, I mean, imagine walking up to, you're going to a family reunion, you're walking up to the ticket counter at an airline, and they suddenly say, oh, well, we sold your ticket for $50 more to somebody else, but we can give you a spot 2 weeks from Sunday for X amount cheaper. And you're like, well, this doesn't suit my needs at all. So it's just something we've always done. It's something we need to get rid of, get away from in the industry.
Yeah, it is not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to buy.
Exactly. So and it doesn't do best for and it's not good for their business. I mean, it may be something that doesn't really drive traffic into their business. This changing what we want to do for them.
Yeah. So when I think about the airline pricing, let's just talk about airlines for a second.
Sure.
The way I believe they do their pricing, not 100% sure, is they take any given airplane trip and they watch how fast the seats are booking up. And they know how fast they should be booking. And so if a trip or a plane is booking slower than usual, they'll probably charge a lower price, they'll reduce the price. And if the trip is booking faster than usual, then they'll raise the price so that they're getting more money from the customers who book later, because there's some reason that demand is high for that specific trip, whatever that is. So are you guys doing something like that?
We are, except where we're trying not to, we call it fire sale. We don't want to, if we're lowering the rate, we don't want to lower the rate too much and kind of condition our buyers to kind of wait us out to lower a rate if the demand is not there. For us, we're lowering it maybe slightly in order to drive artificial demand to get that rate back up. But yeah, our software allows us to look at demand forecasting based on historical, based on trends that we can see, to be able to make sure that rate is priced effectively. Again, and in some cases, you can drive more revenue by lowering your rates, and we've seen that in some cases.
Yeah, and so when you have an empty seat, we'll just call them seats because I know how to talk about seats.
That's how we do it too.
Is it? Okay, good. So when you have an empty seat, you have somebody to put in the seat. So you have an ad, your own personal ad that you could put in that seat. Is that a true statement or not?
That is. We would rather run a station promo than kind of losing our rate integrity for that final seat just in order to sell the seat. We would rather, like I said, have a station run a promotion promoting their television station versus just dumping rate for that one spot in order to sell it and then ultimately losing rate integrity for the station, for the program. And again, you talked about it earlier, value, having that making sure that we have the right value or the correct value for that final spot, to not just fire sale and give it away.
Yeah, so the airlines have, I'm going to say it's an advantage, but I'm not sure that it is, where they have customers who need to travel tomorrow. And so they'll do last minute booking, and they've got, very low price sensitivity, so high willingness to pay. And they end up raising prices as they get closer and closer to takeoff time. My guess is you guys don't have that there aren't many companies who say, I need a slot tomorrow.
No, we don't have much of that but if that inventory, that premium inventory, whether it's on news, sports, kind of specials, if that inventory is a premium, that we will hold rate for that in order to, because we will get last minute buyers if the ratings are there that justify, if it's a hometown team that suddenly has one or two extra avails, we'll hold them out in order to sell them at the last second.
Nice. And so are you using each TV show, I'm not exactly sure what the right word is, but are you using each TV show essentially as a plane or a trip to say we need to fill this show? We are.
We look at it, each television program, and within that program we have capacity. So yeah, to using the airline analogy, basically each program is its own flight, and we need to make its own flight each day, each time of day. So that's why we're, my goal is to use the airlines, because it is very similar to how we price and how we want to price, moving forward in the future.
Yeah, pretty fascinating. What about how big are the price changes? So you said that you're not going to lower your price by much because you want to maintain some type of fee integrity. How much will you increase price?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on the program. I mean, usually with programs that are, say, less than than a capacity of 10 avails to sell. Each one of those units that are sold, really, we're trying to drive the rate because we have such limited capacity. But when you look at our daytime programs or our overnight programs where the demand is not there and we just have a boatload of inventory to sell, we will tend to lower rate there because we have just so much inventory to sell. So we're looking at different, whether we package it differently, how we price it. It's definitely looked at differently, and we look at weekends differently than Monday through Friday. We look at Saturday differently than how we price Sunday. So there's all different kind of factors that we take into account when we're pricing these programs.
So actually, I find that fascinating. So let's just talk about Saturday or a weekend versus a weekday, and we'll talk about a 1 o'clock spot somewhere in that ballpark. It would seem to me that what you cared more about is how many people were watching and who was watching. So the demographics. Is that how you price it?
It's a factor in how we price. We'll look at ratings. We'll look at we used to be able to look at set-top box data to see who is actually watching the inventory. It's a component of the factors that we use to price. Whether it's Saturday at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. in an afternoon on a hot summer day. I mean, chances are that inventory is going to be wide open because nobody wants to be stuck in their house watching television. So we may lower the rate there in order to sell that spot because, again, chances are we have just a plethora of inventory to sell. So we need to, again, we don't want to give it away. What we're trying to teach really educate our sales folks with pricing is, kind of knowing what programs have the premium and what do not in order to make sure that we're priced effectively.
Okay, you just made me smile with something you said, so I have to ask this question.
Okay.
Do you price differently based on forecasted weather? We
do not, but I will write that down because it is something that we should. I mean, but seasonality does play a factor into it because if you notice, there's no really new programs that are launched in the summertime because chances are people aren't around to watch the television. So for us, it's we look at seasonality, we look at quarter to quarter, year to year. We look at when automotive is a big category of ours. Weeks 3 and 4 versus pricing weeks 1 and 2 of a month. That's when automotive dealers generally get their co-op dollars to use for their marketing. So they will, I don't want to say flood, but they will spend their money very heavily in weeks 3 and 4. So we need to make sure that if we know that these auto dealers are coming in to these programs because the demand has always been there, to make sure that our rates are high enough, not high enough, but rates are at a decent increase to make sure that they're not buying it low and then getting preempted by somebody else that comes in.
Yeah. Since you brought that one up, talk to me about pricing for political campaigns.
It's the gift that keeps on giving these days. There's a lot of regulations, FCC regulations, with how we price a candidate. Basically, they want to make sure that they're not being gouged versus a normal, regular core advertiser. So we need to make sure that if they ask, they're entitled to what we call lowest unit rate within a program. So we want to make sure that when we're pricing, like right now, we're really heavily already. We've been looking at the general election for a long time. We want to make sure that our rates are stair-stepped throughout the election, so that when you do get to the couple weeks prior to the election, that our rates are sufficiently increased to make sure that we're maximizing revenue with that. So political, I think every year is a political year for us now, and we need to make sure that we're there's a lot of planning that goes that goes into that with myself, my team, and really the local pricing experts at the station to say, look, let's make sure that we're not leaving money on the table because we're not priced effectively enough. So we use some third-party data for some other resources to be able to help us kind of gauge where the political dollars are going to be spent. But political is obviously these days is the biggest category for us. We'll do well over $400 million in political advertising this year.
Nice. And so just to make sure I understand it and everybody who listens understands it, I think what you said is we have to give the price to a political candidate that is as low as the lowest price we give to anybody else for that offering, whatever that happens to be.
We have to offer it to a local candidate, yes, if they ask for it, yes.
Yes. And so given that we're going to give them the lowest price, what that says is we don't want to lower our prices for anybody.
Correct.
So we hold our prices up. And so that's probably why during campaign season, we never see the other ads. It's just all political ads.
No, right, because usually if a core advertiser is used to paying $1,000 for an ad, and suddenly, the advertising that they're used to buying is now $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 for a 30-second spot, they will wait, or they'll buy somewhere else, whether it be a digital solution. The smart advertisers and our account executives, they need to have those conversations well in advance to look to make sure that we don't completely have an advertiser pull off during a political window, but look for alternative solutions for them that they're not normally used to buying, but still gets them the effective traffic to their business to make sure that they're going there. So for us, that's what we call political crowd out. Which you'll see, depending on where you're sitting, you will only see political ads. Vegas, it's just insanity right now.
And most of us viewers hate that. Just thought I'd point that out.
I'm aware. I get it. I mean, I look at it too, and when I'm in Pennsylvania during the primary, and I see every ad that's coming on is just one political ad after another. I mean, I'm cringing. I'm smiling on the outside, but I'm kind of cringing on the inside.
Yeah. So last question before we're going to start to wrap this up. But
sure.
Talk to me about auctions. So the way that Google sells ads feels like a really smart way to do it. Are you guys thinking about, or is there a way that you could do auctions for the time slots?
We've kind of kicked it around. It may be something that we look to do in the future with some programs, maybe pilot or do a POC on an auction-based selling. It's not something that we're actively engaged in.
Okay, it just seems pretty fascinating to me to have that. All right, Dominick, this has just been fabulous. I've enjoyed this immensely. It is now time for us to play pricing table topics.
Alrighty.
This is a Toastmasters thing, if you're familiar with it or not. And what we're going to do is I'm going to randomly shuffle my cards, which thank you, by the way, for ordering a deck. I appreciate that.
I did, absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting to use them and educating myself, my team, our sales organization, because like I said, pricing is a big driver to profit, so we need to get better on it.
Okay, I'm going to randomly pick a card for you. So we're going to pick this one. You okay with this one right here?
I am okay with it, yes.
You can't read it. I'm going to read it to you. So I'm going to read this, and you get to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on this topic. Create real value with differentiation. Create perceived value with marketing.
Well, value is a key. We talk about it all the time. What is that inventory? What is the customer? What is the value to that specific customer segment? Right? I mean, we can put out a rate that we believe, we believe based on all of our historical data and our future looking data that that's a rate that we should be getting. But what is the value that our customers are willing to pay for that inventory? That goes a lot into how we price. We need to be able to, because it does us no good if we put out a rate card and the rate's $1,000 as an example, and we're not getting anywhere near that, and customers are only paying at $500. We kind of lose kind of that credibility with putting out a rate card. So for us, we talk to our sellers all the time. Sell the value of the program. Don't combine it with other solutions. Don't sell a customer what we call a 9A to 4P rotator, where they can basically, that customer spot could fall anywhere between that time period. That's not selling value. Look at the value of our solutions and price accordingly to them. So we have a lot of conversations and a lot of education at Sinclair around the value of our programs.
Nice. That was beautiful, Dominic. You went for, let's see, a minute 30 seconds, right in the middle. Nice job.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hey, so I do want to end with the final question that I always ask.
Sure.
What's the one piece of pricing advice you'd give our listeners that you think might have a big impact on their business?
I think, for me, it's educating yourself on different industries outside of yours and how you could take those concepts and those ideas and apply them to your business. I think for us, like I said, for me, I've looked at the hospitality, I've looked at airlines, I looked at others outside of perishable inventory, and how can you use those concepts in how you price your business?
I love that piece of advice. That's awesome. I often, in fact, I watch all industries and pricing, and I try to figure out why is it that they're pricing that way. And so then just the whole thought exercise makes me a better pricer.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, why not educate yourself and again, quote unquote, borrow those concepts for your business? But I think as we get smarter as pricing, and as pricing, as it matures in everybody's industry and everybody's frontal lobes, that like the importance of pricing in business. I mean, like I said, in media for years, it was kind of almost like an afterthought. But for us, with so many marketing solutions out there and dollars to be spent, you have to make sure that you're priced effectively. And again, talking about value, making sure that the buyers see the value in your solution.
I could not agree more. All right, Dominic, thank you so much for your time today. If anybody wants to contact you, how can they do that?
I'm very easily looked up on LinkedIn. I'm also a member of the Professional Pricing Society. You can find me there as well. But yeah, please reach out to me. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love that I fell into this industry. Please reach out, and I will gladly speak to you about pricing, inventory, again, whatever you want to.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Episode 189 is all done. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, would you please leave us a rating and a review? We have signed up for Rate This Podcast /Impact Pricing. That will make it easier for you to figure out how to rate this podcast, and we would hugely appreciate it. And by the way, if you can get one of your friends to listen, if everybody gets one of their friends to listen, we would double the audience. Wow, that's how math works. And finally, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast or pricing in general, feel free to email me, mark@impactpricing.com. Now, go make an impact.